Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Winner's Circle Sports Betting Podcast. Sean Higgs coming at you here on Wednesday, November the 19th. And it's a Wednesday. Chip Chirimbes, Brian Bitler joining me here on the YouTube channel. And before we get to a trio, it's not a couple, it's a three-pack of college football winners. Some decent games, some ranked teams for you. Take a minute or two, or maybe won't be 39 seconds. Like button, subscribe, notification bell. Do it all. Be part of the family here, the growing family. We're trying to get these numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. We want to get to a million. Well, a million. Let's just get to 15,000 first, right? Notification bell, like, subscribe, so you know when we post our free pick videos here. Monday to Saturday, we got free picks Monday to Thursday. Live show on Friday. Chip does some free picks over the weekend. Paul Bovey, Jim Feist, Brian Bitler, Doug Upstone, Matt Fargo, Mark Lawrence, Victor King live with me on the weekends. We got you covered. NFL, college football, NBA. And as we get some better matchups, there'll be some more college hoops free picks coming at you in the video. But again, these are free picks. If you like our premium stuff, I get it. Free's for me. And it's stuff, hey, you win games. Like, why should I buy a premium? You give me winners here. I get it, but there's more on the premium side of things. And gamblersWORLD.net is our sponsor. Be sure to follow them for all of our plays. And I got two guys with me. Chip Chirimbes, number 1 the last 7 days. Brian Bitler, number 2 the last 7 days. Doing pretty well. My claim to fame, I'm like, all right, listen, I am number 3 in college football. Yeah, well, Brian Bitler's number 1. So we got that. I mean, we mentioned Doug Red Hot on the ice, Mr. NBA Chip Chirimbes. I was looking at college hoops, so it's like, oh, man, maybe I'm at the top of the leaderboard. I go to look. I'm number 3. I'm 59-46. 2 guys ahead of me. Doc Sports 4-0. 4 games. I'm at 110. He's got 4 for 2 weeks. And Rob Vinceleni, a sizzling 68%, 13-6. I thought I'd be number 1, but no, I'm not. I'm number 3. Whatever. 1, 2, 3. It's like Ronnie Dangerfield back to school. ABC, you're in the top 3. He tells his dad he's off C's. Hey, you're in the top 3 with C's. Anywho. All right. We got some college football we'll be talking about, but it's been a week since I've seen Brian, so I want to see how his weekend was and what he's got coming up here before Thanksgiving. I mean, can't believe it's Thanksgiving already. What is this, week 13? College football? Man, Brian, goes fast.
I got to say, this time of year always just blows by because we look forward
Right.
to it all summer, and then when we get to it, it just goes by in a shot. But I can't really complain too much. Winning days 8 of the last 9, although Monday was an 0-3, so that kind of set me back.
Hey, listen, we're gonna take it on the chin. It happened. I put a 3-pack out yesterday and I went 2-1. I added a couple games. Usually I do this stuff the night before, but I had a couple games in the morning. I go 0-4 and I lose 1 on like free throws because there's a technical foul that cost me a cover. I'm like, then I get my superstition comes in. And Chip, I don't know if you're like this. You've been around a minute too. Like if you do something one way the whole time, it's been paying off for you. And then you add something late and it doesn't work out. Like the last 2 days, my added games where I'm like, let me see what I got in the morning. I look at the line, see if they moved. All have failed miserably for me. I think Chip is frozen. No, he's not. Chip?
What's that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part you said. You said you
Don't
failed
worry about
miserably. You said.
Oh yeah, my added games. Like I said, I'll do like stuff. Mostly I do my stuff overnight. And in the morning, I'll get up, I'll look at all the lines, see if things are moving, if I want to add something. The ones I've added the last 2 days have gone what did I go? 0-3 and 0-4. So what's that like? 1 and 6. Added stuff. Like you find it like you do something all the time and you kind of stick with it because you get the old gamblers gods looking down on you, superstition, or what?
I hate what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. Adding games late, or sudden you catch something. I mean, in your mind, you have it set. You see what your board is, and then all of a sudden, you disrupt yourself by adding something in. And usually, because you didn't see it at first, it probably doesn't work out because it probably wasn't a good play to start with. But I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I don't like to play as many plays as you do, Sean. It's I like to narrow it down and keep it to my premier place.
I get it. Like I said, and you should look at that, right? Because it's your first look is always your strongest, right, guys? Like the lines come out, you'll write them down. Like NFL, the lines are out. Like I'm looking at next week's lines. I'm like, all right, got my little marks next to games. I put a couple bets in. I'm like, I like these. I try not to do like game day NFL. Rarely do I. I can't remember last time I put a game day side or total in on the NFL. But like college basketball, I'm like, all right, let's see where the lines move because there's these syndicates come in, and especially on the totals, I'll move 4 or 5 points. I'm like, all right, if I had it this number, maybe I'll go opposite of that steam because my number has it the other way. But again, I should just stay away. And I'm complaining. I'm hitting 56, 57%, but still, it's frustrating. But enough of my venting. You guys don't want to hear about that. We all have, we all lose tough games. It happens. But let's talk about some winners here. And we got some lined up today. We got some marquee-ish games, right? We got some big names going here. We're going to start with Chip here. Colorado, right? I don't know. These guys, I was totally wrong about the Buffaloes. I thought they'd be a 5-win team. Lo and behold, they're going to possibly be battling for a playoff spot. 2.5-point favorite on the road versus Kansas. The Jayhawks. I think we had them a couple weeks ago here in the chat over Iowa State. We talked about them. They won again last week on the road against another ranked team. Here they are. Another ranked team coming to town. They're an underdog. No home field. They play in what? They played in Arrowhead. Maybe they're getting some of that Chiefs mojo, but do they knock off the Coach Prime Buffaloes here? 2.5 point. Buffalo, 2.5, 59.5 total, 3:30 on a Saturday. Chip, what do you got for us on this one?
Well, there have been 2 college teams this year where the public has just pounded them week after week, and Colorado is one of them, and Indiana is the other. And these 2 teams have been really great for their supporters. Colorado comes at 8-2, like you said, Sean. This is a big surprise to a lot of people. Kansas at 4-6, very disappointing. They lost 6 in a row. They have won 4 of the last 5 meetings against the Buffaloes, but this is when they were playing more regularly. The last 2 weeks, I've had Kansas as best bets and Megabuck plays, and they've beaten BYU outright, and they beat Iowa State outright. And this is a team that when they lost their 6 in a row, they were committing turnovers. They just had the bad mojo. And all of a sudden, they've picked up. If they win the last 2, they can become bowl eligible at 6-6. And Colorado, everybody's been waiting for them to fall all year, and they haven't. The pundits, the experts, I'll say, as opposed to the public, because the public's been on them. And they're on them again, and I'll play Kansas once again. I have the Jayhawks.
Listen, Kansas Jayhawks as a show pick. I didn't even, I'm sure Brian's going to be on this as well. Like, this is just a Joe versus pro kind of game going into the weekend. I'm guessing, right, Brian? What do you think?
I got to say, Chip hit it exactly right on the head. Just in this show that we're doing today, we got 2 of the main focus games. Bettors have done great with Colorado and Indiana. Kansas, I think, maybe the best 4-6 team in the nation. We saw what they could do against BYU. I think it's going to be like a home game they're playing at Arrowhead. I just think this number at -2.5 for a team that's covered, 8 straight games, very tempting. For me, I'm going to wait closer to the kickoff, but I'll take Kansas.
Yeah, Colorado 8-2 against the spread this year. Under 5.5 plus 145 down the drain. And you talk about the mojo and how things are going there, Chip. I look at they caught that Baylor Hail Mary comeback, and I think that kind of changed the trajectory of things for them. Because then they get that win, they go on the road, then they upset UCF as like a 2-touchdown dog. Like those kind of wins like that kind of kicks off team wins. Like you saw the Bears lose on a terrible Hail Mary. Washington goes on the road, wins it next week. Arizona goes and Bears go to Arizona and get their doors blown off. Right? Like those kind of wins can change trajectory of seasons. And you see it in Colorado's 8-2 mark. Good for them. And not for me, but hey, I'll give credit where credit's due. Kansas plus 2.5 though is the show pick, official for Chip, but it's a trifecta. We all like Kansas here at home, catching the points, and it'll be interesting. Again, Brian's gonna wait closer to game day here. I wonder where this line's gonna go. Is it gonna tick down to 2, or is it somebody's gonna come in and say I'm gonna lay it and move it back up to 3?
I'm hoping to catch 3. That's why I'm waiting.
Right. I'm thinking of public, maybe even some sharper guys that say, you know what, I'll lay the 3. Kansas, 2 big upsets in a row. I know there's got to be some kind of database on that one, like pulling off upsets, the what's left in the tank kind of stuff. That would be an angle on the Colorado side of things. But speaking of another hot team here, the Indiana Hoosiers, 10-0 undefeated, ranked. Indiana 8-2 ATS. Catching last night, I wrote that, I did a little write-ups for the day before. 12.5 this was. A random 13. Now this morning, 13.5 with Ohio State. They must have watched the playoff show and just wrote off this team. 13.5, total of 52. You hear Indiana's if they lose, it better be a close one or they're out of the playoffs. If this was Michigan or Penn State undefeated and they lost to Ohio State by 4 or 40, they'd still be in the playoffs. Because it's Indiana, they got to have a closer win. What kind of crap is that? This is the nonsense of the expanded playoffs I hate. If this was any other team in there, it could have been Nebraska in there. Michigan State, it would be a no-brainer they'd get in if they lost by 30 here and finished with 1 loss on the season. But because it's Indiana, they might be out. Ridiculous. I don't know. There's my Indiana rant, or the playoff rant, I should say. Brian, 13.5. 52. Go for it.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm glad I get to go over, maybe the best game on the card here. We should see, I think, a ton of bettors here tempted into taking this Hoosiers team, 10-0 undefeated, 8-1 last 9 against the spread, getting almost 2 touchdowns versus a 1-loss team. But I think if you dig into this one, Ohio State's lone loss was a razor close game at Oregon. Team already took apart Penn State beat Penn State at Penn State. I think athletes-wise, I don't think it's much of a comparison between these two teams. 133-20 is the combined score they've beaten Indiana by last 3 seasons. I know there's a different Indiana team, but Hoosiers have covered 8 of the last 9 games. And this number just makes me want to go the opposite way. I think Ohio State crushes them on Saturday. Give me OSU minus the points.
Ohio State minus 13.5 for Brian Bitler here. And you mentioned the talent disparity. And I just want to touch this real fast. Tommy Tuberville, I don't know if you saw what his quotes were on this game. Or just on Indiana, he's well, with this new money, they can come in and buy players. All these guys came from where? James Madison or Coastal Carolina? What are you talking about? These are all 3-star, 2 and 3-star recruits that nobody wanted from the Power conferences.
It's a nice story and everything. It's tough not to root for Indiana, but, as far as looking at it from a betting standpoint,
The line's 13 for a reason, folks.
Yeah.
Chip, your thoughts on this matchup here?
My thoughts were when I first saw the number, and I thought I first saw it at 9-10. I thought it was high then. And the number makes me want to go toward Ohio State until you check out the team stats and you see the comparison. Indiana's number 1 in the nation, only allowing 72.2 yards a run. Ohio State's 4th, allowing 90 yards a run, per game. Indiana has struggled against this Ohio State team for eons. I don't know if you guys know, the last time they beat them was 1988, and they're 0-30-1 against this team in the last 31 years. But this Indiana, I've been in situations like this before where we've seen a really good team getting an outrageous number of points. And I, like Brian, am gravitating toward Ohio State because the number is so high. But usually when I do this laying the favorite, or when this happens so often, we see the team that is underrated come up big in the game. And even though I would play Ohio State, there's something about this Indiana team that won't let me play against them. And I'm not going to play against them here. I'm going to play the under because their rushing defenses are both so strong. And I think that maybe when you come out in a big game like this, I don't think you're coming out with wild offensive stuff in the beginning. I think you have a tendency to be a little bit more conservative, to stay in the ball game. And I think this game stays under the total.
Chip Trim is looking at the under in this game. They get the bye week. They beat Michigan 2015, so you think of it as, all right, they kind of step up in the competition when it comes to talent gap-wise. A battling game. Right, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say this is the 4th team Ohio State is playing that's had a bye before that, the week before that. So it hasn't bothered them too much. So, one trip to Oregon, and you've got the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country going head-to-head once again. So that was a great matchup. We'll see what happens. It's kind of funny because they get 18 teams in a conference, and you would think toward the end that it would be really, really crazy about who gets in and who doesn't get in. Oregon has already qualified for the championship game. So And that happened. They didn't anticipate it, but when they use all the tiebreakers, they're already in. So Oregon's number one in the country, and they're going to be playing in the Big Ten championship game.
And listen, we talk about their or Ohio State's loss, 32-31, crazy, really good game.
Right.
And Oregon, I mean, what's there to say? Good for them. Would I think they'd go undefeated in their first season in the Big Ten? I did not think that. I know they're a talented squad. They still have Washington, but even if they lose to Washington, I look at it as a Big Ten loss. That's more of like the Pac-10, Pac-12 kind of matchup. But again, surprising year. I was not expecting much out of the Pac-12 teams. I thought for sure they'd probably get nipped up a little bit. They had a tough one versus Whiskey. They got there, but hey, it is what it is. Good for Oregon locking in let's be honest, they're probably the 1 seed if they knock off Ohio State again. But official pick is the Ohio State Buckeyes minus 13.5. Chip likes the under. I understand. I sort of lean that way a little bit. I could see the take on that. Brian, you thought on the total on that one at all or no?
No, I would lean towards the under just because the matchup here, like a playoff type matchup. But
yeah,
I like the side in it more.
Because I look at that Michigan game, I'm like, all right, listen, Ohio State's better than Michigan, but you could see the defense would probably be kind of the same and better offensively for Ohio State than the Wolverines for sure. But all right, Brian Bitler, Ohio State minus 13.5. Chip Chirimbes, Kansas plus 2.5. These are the free picks. This is a free pick video. All right. Last week we went 3-0. We swept the board last Wednesday. We can't top that one. I don't know how we topped it, but we're gonna try. Go to gamblersWORLD.net for our premium stuff. Chip Chirimbes on a 12-2 NBA run, 69% last 7 days. Pretty good. Brian Bitler's got a top 5-star going in college football. He's the number one football capper on the whole site. 13 of us. We're all pretty solid. He's the best of the bunch. Go get it. He also has a hockey winner tonight, I saw. He's going to the cold cash on the ice for Mr. Bitler. Get his plays at gamblersWORLD.net. And I'm over there as well. So there's that. My game. Another pretty decent team playing, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Although some might say this is a down year for a team that's probably going to win 10 games. And when you're in Alabama, that's not good enough. In Alabama, you need to be 12-1 and losing in playoffs. But they got 2 losses, 13.5-point favorite, total 47.5, I should say, versus the Oklahoma Sooners. And boy, oh boy, Venable, I thought he was on the hot seat last year. They ended up getting some wins. This year, well, he's been a defensive guru, and that's kind of what he held his hat on. It's paying off here because they are 117th in offense. What a disaster this team is. And this is another one for me. Bama lost by 5 at Vandy, a touchdown to Tennessee. We can make fun of Vandy. That's I guess still a bad loss. Tennessee, whatever, a pretty good team. You're in a spot with DeBoer coming over, taking over from Saban. Tough spot, right? We've said this before. It's like David Lee Roth coming in after Howard Stern on like K-Rock in New York. Like, how's that going to be? You're in a tough spot there. This game here, this is not that it's Ohio State, Indiana, but I'm going to lay the big number here. Normally, you'd be like, oh, it's a lot to lay here. Look at these scores here for the Sooners when they play good teams. I mean, 35-9, they lost at home to South Carolina. 9 points. 34-3 Texas in the Red River. 25-15 at home. These are losing games at home. 15 points at home, Tennessee. Some monstrosity. 26-14 Ole Miss. When they play good teams, they do not score. Alabama had the typical SEC, let's have our little quasi cakewalk bye week games in the middle of November. We saw Georgia play UMass or something. These guys had Mercer drop a 50 spot, ho-hum kind of game. Alabama's going to score their 30-12. I'm taking the Tide here. Anything less than 14, sign me up. Sooners have not scored. 9-3, 15, and 14 versus teams in the top 25. No, thank you. Sorry, Oklahoma. Maybe time for a coaching change. They got to inject something on offense over there. Give me the Crimson Tide minus 13.5. Brian Bitler, thoughts on my big fave play here on the road?
Well, I like the previous 2 plays better, but as far as making a play on this game, I would lean towards the Oklahoma Sooners here. Alabama, one of the most popular teams in college football, and they have covered 3 straight. Oklahoma that has had 2 weeks to prepare for this one. I just think they're going to play them respectable. I don't think they're going to knock off Alabama, but I'll take the Sooners plus the points.
I don't like hearing that from the guy who's best in football. Come on, man. Well, they're
Sorry,
going to find. Come on, now I'm going to like. What, they're going to find their offense now all of a sudden in the entire season.
I can't get on. Maybe if Alabama's playing Georgia, I would be thinking about it. But
Chip, Chirimbes, thoughts? Bama Sooners.
Well, this Oklahoma team is sort of an enigma to me. I had Auburn against them a number of weeks ago. They had 9 first downs with 2 minutes to go. Pick 6, they turn, they win the game. They end up with 11 first downs. Brian, their offense is absolutely terrible. And like you said, Sean, I don't know how they're going to score or move the ball. But there are all kinds of, they've gotten blown out at home. They got beat by South Carolina, got beat by Tennessee. I think this is a game where their defense, which is their best attribute, comes to play. I think this game stays under the total, Sean. I'm going to agree with Brian here. I like Oklahoma. I'm not saying I would use this game, but you're looking for an opinion off the top of my head. I'll go with the Sooners.
Man, I don't like you guys today. Hey, listen, it's folks they get upset when we all agree, like, oh, everybody's on the same page, and sometimes we're not. I like one side, somebody likes the other. We like overs, we like unders. We mix it up a little bit. It happens. All right, you've heard 3 different voices on this game. Doing it as you will. It's a free pick video. All I know is we went 3-0 last week with our free pick video, so that's pretty good. We're just trying to duplicate that action for you. So Alabama minus 13.5 for me. Brian Bitler likes Ohio State minus 13.5 as well, and he's the number 1 college football capper at gamblersworld.net. Chip Chirimbes, Kansas plus 2.5, a little home dog action. Again, free picks, head to gamblersworld.net. I told you, Brian's got top college football up for tonight. Chip Chirimbes, a 12-2, NBA run. Not sure if he's got anything today. I'm sure he will. He's that hot. I mean, when you're picking like that, you'll have a winner going for you today. But Chip, anything sports history today? I'm excited. I hope it's another baseball winner.
We do our daily play of the day, and on November 20th, there are some landmark occasions that happen in pro sports. And let's start at Boston Garden, opened on this date in 1928 with its first event, and Montreal, as they still do today, beat the Bruins. It was 1-0. That was the final. 1962 on this date, Mickey Mantle receives his 3rd MVP award. He got it in the American League and the National League. They gave it to Maury Wills. He had 104 stolen bases, despite Willie Mays' 51 home runs, 113 RBIs, 323 average, and taking the Giants to the World Series. Congratulations, Maury Wills. That one still sticks in my craw. In 1966, the Dallas Cowboys set an NFL record with 12 sacks against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And on a sad note, really not so much. 1977, Walter Payton ran for 275 yards, NFL record at the time, against Minnesota in a 10-7 win. So don't tell me those yards weren't of some value to him. In 1990, the Sacramento Kings got their first NBA win. And this is a blast from the past. In 1997, Eric Lindros, you remember him, a great hockey player? Yeah, he was suspended for biting San Jose's Marty McSorley. So he took a page out of Mike Tyson's book, and he got suspended, as did Mike Tyson. So November 20th, that's about it. I think the highlight is Walter Payton gaining 275 yards against the Vikings in this 10-7 win.
Well, the Maury Wills numbers were excellent for a season, but
yeah, he had 104 stolen bases at the time, set the record, and he kept the Dodgers live. That's for sure.
The biting of McSorley. I know I'm not a huge hockey guy. McSorley though was a brawler back in the day. He was definitely the enforcer type guys. They don't have guys like that, like Ty Domi nowadays. They don't have cats that, hey, let's get a guy who just fights and just beats up 4 guys at a time on the other team. That's not really the NHL's MO nowadays.
Lindros was a big guy. I mean, he was formidable out there.
Yeah, he was like 6'4", 6'6". He was a big cat. I got to apologize.
Probert used to be.
Bob Probert's another one. Yes, he was a Red Wing guy. Probert. Yeah, every team had like that enforcer guy. But it is the 20th. I don't know. I got to get on Seth here because the thing says Sean Brian Chip the 19th. So I just looked at the top. I didn't even realize the day was. So someone's going to comment 3 minutes into the show that I said the wrong day. I'll throw the producer under the bus. That's how I'm going to roll today. Sorry. All right, listen. Chip likes Kansas plus 2.5. Brian, Ohio State minus 13.5. I'm taking the Tide minus 13.5. They call Alabama the Crimson Tide. Call me Deacon Blues or Sean Higgs. But we're out of here on a Wednesday. Good luck, guys. Good to see you. Happy weekend. Let's have some winners, and I'll see you all next week. Good luck, everybody.